Hey, welcome to the Jim Anderson Show. My name is Elder Murray Holman, or Director of South Violence Coalition, Murray Holman. I'm sitting in for legendary Jim Anderson in Austin as they beeline here, but I'm here with his mom. She's always on point, and people are always trying to call in. Soon we get on the air on our cell phones, but as we get set up and go into what's happening in the city of Buffalo, we want you to know that you can always call into the station here and voice your opinion, and your opinions will be noted. And without discrimination, we will actually listen to your views, your point of views, and then weigh in on that. And that is the role, basically, of what this show is basically about. And folks, as people are on their way here, it's a lovely day in Buffalo, New York. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. Get out and see what's happening in the city of Buffalo. I can let you know I went to the Pepe Martin Legacy event yesterday at Martin Luther King Park on the side that most people don't think that exists over there towards the museum side. And when I tell you that, that was a great side to go to because as I'm on the board for Juneteenth, and we always talk about, how can we make one side better than the other side? That plan of action that they have over in that area will help us along the way when we're dealing with our youth in the community when they come out to Juneteenth when they want to raise havoc. And so that side is very nice and peaceful. There's a garden there that most folks don't know about. And then it's some ironwork as well over there that a black man helped design over there in Martin Luther King Park. If you remember back in the day, the whole entire park had ironwork around it. It was a fence around the whole entire park. And now we have the big bricks out there and boulders there. So that's part of the beautification part and preservation part to keep the park from people driving up on it and tearing it up. But at first we were looking at that as an eyesore. Now it seems to be working, but I believe that it should be a plan to either decorate those bricks with, paint, or have students or kids and elders in our community put some life to those bricks so it just won't look as bad. Shad is in here with he got his Buffalo Bills hat on. He called me up. I was out of town. Heard you needed a generator, and I had one, but you got it. But next time, let me know. But on this air, we try to talk and hit all type of points. We know that as things go on, folks, the big shakeup for the day is basically based on President Biden not trying to run for president right now, stepping down as president for the re-election part. Some folks thought he was just stepping down as president. But a man that's almost, how old do you think he is, Sissy? 80 years old, 80 plus? And most folks, a lot of people don't know how old his age, but I think he's close to 80. And if you know, please let us know. I know Brother Kamal probably listening in. He probably know. But it seems like
he's 81.
He's 81 years old. And so if you look at that and you say to yourself, at 81, they always want to take your driver's license and things like that there and put you off into the pastures. But to be 81 years old and have sound mind as long as he has is a great tribute to our community. But I look at Congress is basically all like 75 to 80-year-olds in there. So I'm wondering, you got to be careful because what goes around comes around. You want to chase people out of office because they get a little age on them. But I think our whole Congress is basically people that's 80, 75, 80 years old, all the way down the line. And then what we have now.
The average age.
The average age, yeah.
The average age is 58.
You think it's the average?
That's what it says online.
But but we got Chuck Schumer. I mean,
but those are just the people you know. There's a whole bunch of other people we just don't pay attention to.
Okay, so I not just Chuck Schumer, but I see that I guess New York State has the most oldest Congress people in office, or in DC and places like that there. But the average age is 58. Some people might think 58 is old a little bit. I believe that sometime when we out in the community, people say sir and all that there because you look older. But what we see in here in the United States is flux of old people. What we see on the news is mostly the older generation, not the younger generation, your congressmen and things like that. There, I don't know the age of Senator Kennedy, but and he's now in Congress. He's probably around 58, probably around that mark.
No, he's the age as my cousin. So
How old is he? How old is he? Let us know. Let us know, because that's what we doing on the shake-up. You think he's 40, 50
he's
years
in his
old?
40s.
You sure? You sure he's in his 40s?
We'll look it up.
Yeah,
and
look it
tell
up.
you.
Look it up. Look it up. Well, what if Brian Higgins wouldn't have not left office? He would have been. Brian Higgins is about 64, 65 years old. So we run into that, and Austin just came into the studio as well. And as we prepare to talk about this thing, it seems like elders are now being pushed to the side. So like even in our homes, when the elder get a certain age, what we do, we and black folks we're starting to do as more as white folks is push them into nursing homes and things like that there. And then Mr. Jim Anderson just stepped in the studio. Our elder just came into the studio now, and he said, yeah. But we have to be careful of that, because in the African villages, and in Egypt and places like that there, elders was not pushed into, out of existence or retirement. That's where we got our knowledge from, and that's where we basically got all our history about what's happening. My mother's grandmother was 48 years old. So he on the threshold of being 50.
You're 10 years off. People will be mad at that.
10 years.
Did you say Kennedy?
Yes.
Yeah, Kennedy.
Yeah, I hope he find his voice. I'm not sure. I know y'all been saying something probably not, but I just when you brought that name up, I'm a little disappointed in his quote that they've been running on the news, where he talks about he stands firmly behind President Biden as he finishes his term. You're doggone right. You got to stand there. He got to finish his term. What you need to be talking about is your support is for Kamala Harris.
Yes.
Why can't you speak to that? And oh, by the way, remember, there's a villain that's on our shores right down there in Washington where you at. Yeah, name is Bibi Netanyahu. Yeah, the mass murder of a lot of Palestinians. Speak to that. Speak to that. If you're going to represent the interests of the people from your community, speak to that. We've been talking about it. Every social justice group, every peace group, every religious group been talking about the mass murder going on in Palestine and what's happening to the folks of Gaza being pushed off their own land. And here you are still silent. You better open your mouth if you're representing us. You know better than that, Congressman Kennedy. I'm really disappointed in you, because you are much smarter, much brilliant, and you say a lot of things, but you got to stop talking around the issues that matter. And you need to hold a town hall here in Buffalo on foreign policy and tell us where you really stand, and get back that AIPAC money.
Wow.
Okay, I'm sorry, y'all.
Y'all
go ahead.
Jim Anderson is in the house.
Yeah, shake him up.
It went from the age to the shake-up, and this is what the show is about, basically, the shake-up. We've been seeing the Democratic Party has been having a lot of problems lately. People are moving laterally and making moves and resigning, and yet still, even here in Buffalo, New York, and Western New York, we have had a lot of folks either resign from position or want on trying to be higher up. And what is that all about? Is the Democratic Party having these type of issues in the community and not letting the community know what's going on? Do we need new blood in there? Do we need people like Austin's age to step up to the plate right now? Austin, just jump in, because this is how we rolling this out today.
Absolutely.
And I feel it.
And you speaking about community, good morning, Buffalo. I'm sorry, I hate to do this, but I'm here representing something important too. This Thursday and every Thursday, coming up Thursdays in August, we're going to have a food truck Thursdays at Northland. That's 683 Northland. Come check us out, because we bring in money and jobs, family sustaining wages and careers back into the community. And to your point, what you were talking about, even to comment on what you're talking about, there is a political shift. I was just talking to my grandma the other day. I said, a lot of people in their minds can't fathom a young president. Right. It's not so much that others are getting pushed to the side. It's that a lot of people in their minds can't fathom a young president. And a lot of the times, voting habits, in my opinion, go with generations.
Go ahead.
Right? For what
Yes.
you've seen.
Mhm.
And I think that there's an upturn now. There's a change coming
Right.
to politics where age doesn't necessarily constitute experience. What constitutes experience? Experience constitutes experience. The only way you grow and mature in a career field such as politics is you do it.
Right.
That's the only way.
Roar,
So,
roar,
to that
line,
point,
roar,
there's
line.
a change that's overcoming where it's not just about how they look. It's about what can you do, what can you talk about, and it's uncomfortable. And so maybe some elders in the community are getting worried about their position. But this is what I want to say. Elders only lose their, or not elders, any group only loses their spot in the community when they fail to do their job. And this becomes the question.
Right.
The youth job in a community is to provide energy and new ideas. The elders' job is to lead and guide the youth. So the only way elders fall out of use in the community is when y'all stop wanting to lead and guide the youth. So if you want to be an older elder and you want to say that those young are stuck in their ways, if you want to be an older elder and say, man, them young don't want to change, if you don't want to help the youth, then you should be worried because your spot is under contention. But if you're doing your job in the community and inspiring youth, building power, being like Mr. Anderson always says, living shoulders for the next generation, then your job will never go out of demand because we always need someone to guide. So that's my opinion when it comes to elders, both in politics and in communities, because we need older senators like we need young senators, but we cannot be fearful of young people because the only way we move forward.
I mean, what you do all the time, usually when you turn a certain age, they want to take your driver's license away. You know what I'm saying? They're saying you're too old to drive and all that. And it may be like, well, I've been doing pretty well for 90 years driving. What's the problem? Here we go in our society right now. What is the problem with the Democratic Party and the Republican Party and the Conservative Party and the Independent Party? And then we're going to go with Miss Eva Doyle party. What party was that, Miss
Freedom Party?
The Freedom Party. These things are in place. And now we having this big issue about this president, our president, stepping down less than 105 days before this big thing takes a change. At first, we were worried about because he was going to lose probably to Donald Trump, or he might have won between Donald Trump. But now here we are trying to get this stuff together, Mr. Anderson, at the last minute. It's sort of like when we have a funeral in our community and we pick the wrong place, or the church said we can't have it there, and then we try to move somewhere else. So we are in a bind right now. They shifting money, and the laws is going to be in place. It seems like now we making up laws based on just, anybody can make a law in a matter of days and then go through the court system. Each state and country here is going to have a problem with that. It's going to be laws that's going to be in the books that's going to hurt us or make us move on. We might have some same stuff that happened when we had the, people taking over in D.C., climbing walls.
I could tell you some good news I come to bring. We're going to win. The fact is, everybody was talking about at one point, one day we're going to have a woman in the White House. And they was like, finally get a vice president that's a woman.
Right.
And they had been talking about for the longest, one day we're going to have a woman president, and people have tried. And now we got one. And it's kind of, there's some scripture that talk to that. The one who some people wanted wasn't the one that was really being chosen. And now I ain't going to go too far in there, but what I want people not to worry about, we got a good candidate in Kamala Harris.
Let's say her name, because they don't never want to say her name right?
The president-to-be, who is now vice president, but who is also now the front runner for the nomination, rightfully so, of the Democratic Party to become president of the United States, Kamala Harris.
So, Ms. Anderson, let me ask you this question.
Go ahead.
The question is, how come Biden just didn't step down, with this last couple of months and just make, because she could have got sworn in as a president. It could have made history right off the top.
Well,
in less than 4 months, he could have just stepped down and she could have became president right now and have been an incumbent running for this position.
Well, here's the thing we need to look at. I mean, he had some sound reasons. One is that you have to look at the numbers. He felt for the most part he was ahead, and then say that he was waiting to see the latest data that showed her being able to be supported.
The latest data, Fox and CNN News.
Right? And you can't just go by data,
right.
But those who were reminding him, you heard Austin just talk about that strong spirit of the young.
Yes.
It is the young across the nation that has been pushing leaders who represent groups on what it is that they want, and they're not backing down. And it's a reasonable cause. Mm-hmm. Here's a man that has served well, mm-hmm. who is showing signs that deplete his energy. He needs to rest. And sometimes people like that. Look at folks in sports games. They be tired yes. and they need to rest. And you have some say, oh, but we need you. Mm-hmm. And others be recognizing, yeah, but it's wearing you out. You know you need to rest. Sometimes you need somebody to walk you back off of that plank. And it's a hard thing to do when people say, oh, the weight of the world is on you. It ain't on him. It's on we the people. Right. And what we need to look at, you heard Austin say, don't look at what the person look like and their personality. Look at their policies. What are they presenting? And when you look at the Biden-Harris ticket, yes. they're the ones who are pushing to put a cap on rent. They're the ones who are pushing for real affordable housing. Mm-hmm. Not that they just automatically came up with that. It took those who were hurting, like the many of us, organizing together, making our demand and pushing it forward. Well, we're in the game, and we got some policy that has been developed and needs to be delivered to full birth by the Congress. This moment is important. The team around whoever is president has to be strong too. You hear me, Congressman Kennedy? Anyway, I'm just saying we're in a great moment. This is a plus moment. People don't need to think, oh, she didn't do this. She wasn't strong on that. You know what the strongness where the Biden-Harris ticket has been? Right. Is on social justice issues.
So here we go.
That's it. They ain't done all they need to do, right. But they have moved us forward because we have pushed them to go forward. And I believe that Kamala Harris is prepared right now to feel that wind still on her and lift up some stuff that hasn't been lifted up. This is a historical change. Yes. I hope women recognize, yeah, she's a woman. One woman said, ain't I a woman? Then during the early suffrage movement, a black woman said, ain't I a woman? So you want to see a woman president? Ain't she a woman? Yes. I'm going to shut up. I'm going to say, you can call us at 716-837-1112, but we just dropping it like, I know it. We all dropping it
like it's hot.
And what you got, bring it, please.
Yes, sir. So Austin, here we go. On that level there, we know Nancy Pelosi is very old, and you know she decided to step down, I believe, but she still had power. So some people with power are now approaching President Biden. We're approaching President Biden and telling him to get out the race. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, that's just kind of strange. We talk about Obama had a talk with him. I thought, and on the field, what I'm looking at is the names of the people that they want to be the next vice president. And we got a caller in here before we go there. But I was like, why Jeffries is not on this list? You know what I'm saying? Why is Jeffries not on this list? And then here we go with the caller is on the air. But go ahead, because Jim Anderson is bubbling over.
Let's get a call now.
Caller, come on in. You're on the air with the Jim Anderson show. Go ahead.
I agree with everyone. Very beautiful show. I just wanted to comment on what Jim was saying and actually what everyone is saying. The Biden-Harris ticket has been putting people in administrative positions, from the cabinet to people who are doing veteran affairs, that are reaching out to everyday people and people who have been left behind in the system. It's not just them two, it's the people that they put up in place. President Biden has put the most black women in Supreme Court positions or in federal justice positions than any president in history. For the last few months, Vice President Harris has been touring black cities and communities, talking about businesses, dealing with the black sororities and fraternities. So the network is even more important than just those two individuals. And that's why I think it's important that they're in place to continue the work And I think that we should maybe, we've been talking about having us reach out to 10 people and make sure that they're registered, and make sure that they understand policy. I know there's a lot of controversy about construction, but there's a whole lot of infrastructure that was planned that has been blocked by the Republican administration. And for those out there, if you can look up Justice 40, you can see the language attached to large construction projects, and as a result, it relates to Black communities and poor people. So we need to study the policy and understand what's happening, and not just, kind of get caught up in some of the smaller arguments, because 2025 is real, and we need a legal mind to check him and to educate our community. So I'll listen to the rest of the show. Thanks.
No, absolutely. I definitely agree with the caller, and for what they're saying, it does require an awareness on policy. And this is when we look at even going back to, and I hate always making it go to age, but it is when you look at younger people, voting is a skill, right? It is a skill. And I bet if you really went into it, there's probably a lot of elders in the community who don't really know how to vote and what that process entails, what it looks like to research policy and research someone's history and things of that nature. What it looks like to follow someone's track record and make sure that you're having the most up-to-date information. I know in school we talked about it at a very high level, but actually going into the details is difficult. And I think that it requires, like we said, we need to figure out, and this is why it goes back to asking questions to the youth. What is important enough to the young people to get them out to vote?
That's
right.
right.
What are the issues that are important enough that we want to vote on? Because when you can identify those, hopefully then it'll make it easier to teach those actual skills.
Caller, you on the air with the Jim Anderson Show. Go ahead, caller.
Yes. Good morning,
Dr.
Mr.
Doyle, welcome.
Anderson.
Hello, Mother Doyle.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Ma'am.
Yes, this is Dr. Doyle. I would just like to give a little history of myself.
Yes.
I ran for lieutenant governor
Yes.
of New York State in 2010 on the Freedom Party line.
Yes, you did.
And that was very important because the Freedom Party was the only Black and Latino-led party in New York State. And we made history
Yes, we did.
because we gathered more than 50,000 petitions and we made the ballot.
Amen.
I want to say one more thing. We ran with Charles Barron,
Yes,
who
indeed.
was the assemblyman from Brooklyn.
Yes.
And they came, the Freedom Party leaders came to Buffalo, and they were looking for a Black woman to join them on the ticket. And the person who gave them my name was Ted Kirkland.
Mr.
I'm
Ted.
very proud
Yes,
of
sir.
that.
Yes, sir.
So I just wanted to share that. And we need the elders who are the historians and the griots to remind young people of our history. Thank you very much.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed, Dr. Doyle. And none of that is taken away. And what we hear from our young people is the expressions of their brilliance. The young people are the bearers of the new knowledge, the new skills. They see things that the old have not even envisioned. And this is the unique thing. We ask for their vote,
Right.
but we don't seem ready to accept their mind. And what they're saying, the two are one. And what they're saying at this point, because there's such a mass of them whose consciousness is right at where it needs to be, they're making a power move. The move that they're making, that young folks are trying to do, is to build a world that works for all of us. They look at this world, they can't even imagine having a house like their parents have. They can't even imagine having a decent paying job like their parents may have or may have had, which is the situation for a lot of parents. And what they draw the line in the sand. Our generation, year after year, before this great wave of young people were coming along, we were complaining about people not voting. We were always putting a whole lot in, well, let's get people registered to vote. How's that working? We still this day talking about let's get people registered to vote. It ain't the young people, they're aware of that. They expect to come out of high school already prepared to do it. Whatever, when they hit, they're ready. They're hearing that. But the generations before them, They didn't hear much of it, and they didn't see much interaction. We got groups almost competing with each other. Everybody want to do getting people registered to vote. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fine. But they act like they're in competition. Everybody trying to
get them to the polls.
Yeah, and I'm like, look, let's get real. We're in a moment to really make history. We have the wherewithal. We have policy that's in play. Right. And if we keep our muscles strong, we'll get more humane policy in play. You don't be fooled by these Republicans trying to tell you a bunch of hype. You remember we used to have some on this station. I think they called themselves Republicans of color. We're their voice. And what good can they speak to the Republican Party? None. None of them. They silent as to be. Wonder if they still members of what they call ROC, Republicans of color. Talking about knowing the history. Know the history. See, this game of trying to dance between without doing any action been going on. But we got real action because it's on we the people. Anybody that is helping the people understand this is our moment. I don't want you crying. If you crying, you better be also taking steps forward in action. And there's going to be a lot. The first starts with putting demands on your elected. When we talk about people resigning, well, we just had a county legislator resign. Yes. I don't remember him coming to the people saying, should I? Right. Or which way is up?
For the betterment of
the but look what he went for, more money. Right. See, if we need to check them out when they're running from Jump Street. If you running for an office, you got to commit to not jumping ship because you can make more money elsewhere. You ain't doing more policy elsewhere.
It never came to the community.
No.
And then actually to run unopposed for that season.
It's shameful.
And then now all of a sudden you just go ahead and then now you have powers to be that will put a person in there, don't have the experience to even know about our community all throughout the community, and now it's in place. And here we go again. Now we're going to have to do another election in November and all that. You appoint somebody without the community even having an input. And this is what we have problems with. When you have EDs and things like that there, that's already been in the system and go with the status quo, we have these type of issues happening in our community. And Buffalo is very unique on doing this type of stuff. I've been noticing it a lot, not just with the Democratic Party, but with all parties. Certain people are put in place on certain levels. And here we are with the Shake Up Show with Mr. Anderson giving it to you as real as it can be right now. We have an issue here in the United States, and things are going to be changing in 2025. And if we're not a part of that program, it's going to be something that's going to affect our families down the line. Now, our organization went over I Vote to Make a Difference campaign. That means we registered over at least about 1,500 people, me and John Elmore and Stop the Violence Coalition, to register to vote. But the thing was, how do we get them to the polls? And it was young folks that registered to vote and said, man, I finally did this. But now, how do we get them there? I can remember some years back, and Shai can help me out with this. The other station came up with a plan to have people, celebrities, come into the community all the way down because those rappers were saying, let's vote. If we don't get out and come with a different type of campaign, it's not going to happen. I'll give you Crystal Peoples-Stokes came out with a plan. When she ran, she ended up getting with West Hurd Ford or one of them places and had vans picking up people. Droves of vans was coming through the community, picking up elderly people, picking up people to go vote. If we don't change this plan, how is it going to work? Money is on the table. I don't know how they're going to take the money from Biden to shift it over to her, to the vice president, but money is on the table. Where are we going to go with that?
Well, again, Congressman Kennedy, you can hear me. All that money you got while you were the state representative that you can't spend at the federal level, ain't nothing stopping you from deploying it into the community to help us on the forward movement as you raise your voice for Kamala Harris and as you raise your voice against Bibi Netanyahu. I'm telling you, it is. I'm saying it's shameful. Tim Kennedy, this Jim Anderson saying that. Don't get mad at nobody else, and you shouldn't get mad at me. People close to you should tell you you're on the wrong side of the issue if you accept that killer.
We get ready to go to a break. Folks, tune in to us as we be live on the Jim Anderson Show. We'll be right back.
They mean to be bad on y'all.
Detect to protect. It may seem like one small bump, but even occasional cocaine use can kill.
I'm glad we
Test
don't
your
script.
cocaine for
Hey, we
fentanyl.
still
Go
don't,
to
You're still live.
We don't script.
secretary.gov
Y'all see it. I mean, y'all
/detect.
getting it raw.
Brought to
You
you by Erie
ain't nobody
County.
saying they. You know what they said off air was different. What they said on there, no, it ain't. Probably more sharp. And I'm nice. I think I'm the nice one in here.
Came in on fire.
I be trying to keep y'all down from like getting it like tigers and lions. Back on it. Don't. No, but
I mean, it's
where your mic is way over there.
Because I'm
but
sitting here.
the topic is
Okay.
to come back in is where were you at when this message came out? You know, what was you doing when you heard about this Biden stepping down? You know,
Where was I?
yes.
I was at a birthday celebration.
Were you in shock or
Oh, I didn't see the text message till after.
right? And it just went viral. And he text messaged folks.
Oh no, this was someone who text messaged me because they know I don't pay attention to current news.
Right.
Or visit IlioDePalos.com. Delicioso.
Hey.
Welcome back to the Jim Anderson Show. I'm Murray Holman here, and
There's
I'm
a
letting
call.
some. We got a caller on here. We're going to introduce who we got on air first before we go to that caller. Introduce yourself.
From 5 to 7, come down to 683 North Avenue. See some programs because we bringing millions back to the community and with paying sustained wages.
Hey, Jim Anderson. I'm the quiet one.
My name is Murray Holman. Caller, you on the air. Go ahead, caller.
And to answer your question about where the money goes, the money doesn't go anywhere. They're on the same ticket. And there's no way that, you can deny the vice presidential candidate because the presidential candidate steps down. That's not a different situation. Number two, please bear in mind, as of Sunday at 11 a.m. until noon, Kamala alone garnered $70 million in donations. So the money's not going anywhere if they make her the candidate.
And you would say if they make her the candidate. So what is the grounds?
And pretty
Yes,
much
sir.
so anybody who understands anything politically will know that to not make her the candidate makes Trump the president.
Wow. So the Democratic Party is having a convention coming up, and that's just when I guess all the good old people get
To answer
together.
your other question on
Yes.
that,
Mhm.
Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House,
Mhm.
is saying he's going to challenge it legally. He can't.
See?
He hasn't been nominated yet.
Right.
So all they have to do is follow through and nominate her, and there's no law in any state or federally that will prevent this from going through, and we can continue with the race even though it's only 90 days.
So the question to you and to all our people that's listening in on WFO Mix 1080 and 96.5 is the question is, where were you when you heard about President Biden stepping down? And I'll leave that question for yourself, and then we go to
eating breakfast.
you were eating breakfast
At 1 o'clock?
at 1 o'clock. You was eating breakfast.
I had a late day.
Oh, you had a late
Right.
day. Okay, sir. Thank you for your calling in, and we're gonna note that. I'm gonna ask Mr. Austin, because the young man, what were you doing when the? It's sort of like did the whole city just stop in motion or what? What happened?
Honestly, I was at home and I was coming home. Actually, I was coming home from probably work, and I was checking my phone. I got a notification. I saw it on the Apple News. Got home, read a little bit, read the letter or what he typed up. And it was just interesting. I didn't really expect it, but honestly, my first initial thought was I'm not upset about it. I think that we oftentimes can be like, why would he do this? Why would he do this? But if you're asking me, a president is supposed to make decisions for the best sake of the nation, and we might not always like those decisions or be prepared for them, but that's what a president is supposed to do, and they know that that's maybe not the best decision for America. So I wasn't upset, but I was just at home chilling, and I looked at it and said, I'm curious on what's going to happen following.
Okay, caller, you on the air.
Hello, and good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
And ladies,
To your question and a comment.
yes.
My answer is, as far as what was I doing, where was I at? I also was enjoying a lovely Sunday evening. I was hosting relatives from out of town, coming to enjoy some of the wonderful festivals we have here in Buffalo during the year. Now, I got a call from my retired history professor, best friend down in Alabama, and she said So there, from there, she broke down everything. So she was storing it, and this is her background. That Biden has 3,000 pledged delegates that belong to him that only he can wield and do and make a decision on. Nobody else, just him. And he has 3,000 pledged delegates.
Wow.
No one can take them, and he decided to put them behind Kamala. Now, those are pledged delegates. Now, the Democratic Party could try to make those pledged delegates, pull them, but they're not going to do that because that will destroy the Democratic Party. So those delegates that go into Kamala from Biden is hers, and she is. And, I welcome voting for President Kamala Harris.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Anderson, where were you at when this?
I was at Prospect Point in Niagara Falls on the American side, which was closer to the Canadian side because we were doing an international action that had Jewish Voice for Peace, West New York Peace Center, Peace Action, New York State, a multitude of faith groups supporting Gaza. And on the other side, over 1,000 people from the Canadian side came marching in. We had our flags, we had our speaking, we had our music, and I was there, and I get certain beats on Google notices. And when I saw you stepping down, I was cool. I was saying to myself, finally. I mean, tons of organizations have been sending out questions to people. Who would you vote for if he steps down? Who would you rather see? Which was a sign that there's something going on to try and get him to move aside. So you always keep your eye on who's next in line. Hey, look, it's automatic. The vice president is next in line.
Next in line.
If he got the most experience,
yes,
then anybody, even if she hasn't traveled to certain places, look, she's in the room, she's close up with him, she's prepared. And the way it runs, it's always been that kind of follow up when your president
So
goes down. That's what you got a vice president for. Now, even with Johnson and the other Republican crooks trying to figure out how they can challenge does the political law allow for them to do that? They can go fly a kite. What they're trying to do is get people to cast doubt that she's going to be the one. Everybody that heard the last caller here and listened to my voice, you better know it's Kamala Harris time. And when it's Kamala Harris time, it's more than our time. She got there because of us. And I'm not talking color-coded. I'm talking about those who understand the need for progressive policy.
She's more qualified.
That's right. She's more qualified. And
you know what? We
have a better relationship.
But I have a question. This is just a question because I think about the Gen Zs and the millennials who probably weren't too excited.
Right.
And I understand that logically, Kamala seems like she's the right. However, the question that I ask that I think is really important is, are we saying Kamala because she is the logical choice, or is she someone that people can get excited about? Every morning I walk, and when I tell you these people, because this is something like, even when you talk about the writing people, when President Obama ran for presidency, it was a very intelligent man, but there was an excitement about the opportunity and the chance, right? And then when I look at the Trump people who love him, you could, any day of the week, you could go. I was driving myself to Panera's. There was a man standing alone with his Trump flag, with his bullhorn, talking. Whatever. My question is, do you feel like, even though it's a compressed time, is she just the person that we say is the better choice, or are people going to be excited about her legitimately? Because I just don't see the excitement yet when you say her name, because if that was the case, she probably would have won the first time.
I say she's both of those. She both on the question about whether she is the expectation of the next, and whether there's excitement. The excitement is that we've had the Obama factor, And that kind of coming back that way, when that happened, that crossed a lot of thresholds for people who imagine a person of color. He was articulate. I mean, he checked all the boxes.
And his education.
And his education. And the thing is that we have to look at, it wasn't just about Obama. It was about us. Some liked him because of the color. Some liked him because of policy. All of that helped. But we're smarter than that about politics now. And I say, when you look at the work that's been done, I say all of those who are about social justice with some of the regular issues that raise housing, education, women's care, and so forth, she's been strong on that, very strong. But women, and then here's the other thing.
That's a woman.
I mean, I'm gonna give it up. Here's the other thing about the excitement. People have to understand, what is it that they want. If not Biden, who?
And that's a very good point. All I'm saying is that it is 2024 and you can still see Obama stickers.
Yes.
Okay. People still talk about him, and that was how many races ago.
Mm-hmm.
And if people are really so down for her, and please don't yell at me and call in and say I'm this automatic.
No,
I'm
right
not, but I'm just saying, if that passion was there, we would have seen Kamala shirts. Since still, yes. We would have still seen them from when she was running. But the dedication and the zest that I think about with young people when they want to rock with somebody, I just don't know that she has that factor. And even in a short period of time, I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's a better than still choice. I don't know if it's a, and I want to just say this one last point and then I'm done. Mm-hmm. I wish we would say people are that deep into policy. I wish that was true. But when you sit around the coffee tables that are like watching streamed and stuff, right. The real conversations people are having are not that deep, in my opinion. And that's just my opinion, but I'm done with my
I agree with you.
So, Mr. Anderson, I'm glad, Mother, you tuned in.
He said Mother, Latasha.
Austin's mom. Let's put it that way. But what you're saying is so true, because a lot of women right now is saying, the vice president is on their mode. You know what I'm saying? Everything is about, she's a woman, she knows the right about a Roe versus Wade and all these things here that's going on. And I'm like, do she have the power to change everybody's views right now in a short period of time? That's what my question was. Because with Obama, he was groomed into this position as president. He just didn't walk into it. I could see that when I was younger, when he was coming in, people knew he was going to be the next president. With the vice president, we didn't know that she was going to be vice president until Biden decided to go ahead and put her on his team. So here we are right now. Situation is happening with who is going to be if she gets this position, who's going to be the vice president? And I'm seeing the names of the folks that's on there, and there's nobody of color that's on that ticket with her on that level. And I'm saying, here we go. And I'm listening to the news, and it was like, yeah, she has to go with Pennsylvania. She has to go with certain, areas in order for this to work, in order for them to win over, a state like that. I'm like, wow, we couldn't just win it just with our vote of people in our community saying we gonna outdo those numbers in them other places.
We have a couple of comments from Facebook from Charles Kelvin. He says, get rid of the whole ticket. We associate Kamala with Biden. And what have they together done for us instead of White House barbecue? And I think the main point that I'm saying is I think a lot of people are just having conversations, and I'm not dismissing the intelligence. I'm just saying that I think we live in a culture that sometimes will say that it's that deep, but when you listen to the coffee conversations, they're not that deep. And whatever we feel comfortable with, or whoever that liking factor, even with President Obama, he has this thing that Robert Cialdini talks about is woo. He has this charisma about him. People are drawn to him. That's why they want to see where he stands on this situation. So there's a caller now, and so I don't normally do that, but caller, you're on the line.
She moving in right now. Look, go ahead, shout out the call. Go ahead, caller.
Okay, I would like to make a comment. As far as when Obama first came out, there was no huge acceptance of him, even within the Black community. His own pastor denounced him. We had established political figures who also were, questioning Obama. That's not true.
Okay.
politics very long.
Okay.
And that was that concern, that his inexperience, because he had been in politics, but just for a very short window of time. So he wasn't really all that well prepared and groomed to become president. But also, we look back through history, many of the individuals who have stepped into the political light in our culture didn't always have open arms. Rosa Parks, she did. People didn't really agree with Malcolm X and his point of view. And when I say people, I'm saying Black people. People didn't all believe with Martin Luther King and, label him as a troublemaker. And so when it comes to Kamala is more than qualified. Than a lot of people that would want to be in her position. She's been the vice president. She has been in Congress. She has a long, established political history and educated. And she's a sound person to be able to lead this country in all kinds of affairs that our country is engaged in. She's that person because she's the most qualified and she's the most experienced. And around my coffee table, everybody is pouring their coffee in support of Kamala Harris. And as far as our younger generation, they just got to get up to speed and they got to wake up and they just got to be engaged because that's the only way they're going to have any input on how their lives is governed is to be involved in this politics and then read and learn so they can have some wisdom discernment when they cast their vote.
Thank you. So what you just heard was a shakeup on the Jim Anderson show, and she just said it very, very clearly. But
I'm going for coffee too. I
don't drink coffee, but I'm letting you know right now we have to go into the minds of these youth that's 18 and above and get them at the table. And how do we do that? That is going to be a hard task to do when they automatically don't believe in the government as much as we think they do. And now they saying because you're throwing her name in the pot and she's a Black woman, then that's supposed to be an okay thing for them to do. But in order for that to happen, some of you folks that's on the air are going to have to come out and we're going to have to get together across this nation to make this work. It's going to be almost going back into the 60s, Mr. Jim Anderson, when you guys were telling people to get out and vote. And on that level, you have to do
when you have a generation that don't know, if people are going to say our young folks don't know, look, that's the same story in the scripture. Mm-hmm. They talk about the generation that knew everything to do right. And after them came another generation that did everything totally different, that they were saying, oh, terrible. Well, that's what you get when you don't teach. Mm-hmm. And let's be clear. When we talk about getting young people up to speed, they're already up to speed. They wonder why we ain't keeping up with them.
Right.
They're the layers that makes the new world. And the real challenge, any of us, if we're not talking to at least one young person, challenging them, if they got some whack ideas, they need to be challenged. They want to be stretched. They'll stretch back with you, but they got good sense when it's delivered, especially compassionately when it's delivered with real care, not hype. Look, our young people are brilliant. They know people who just talk a game and who actually lived it. And I'm just saying there are far too many in our community that are quick to act like they're doing something they ain't doing nothing but talking. Though, a lot of time when people say, we're standing on the shoulders of those who are going to hear, you're right. But some of us need to be the living shoulders that's helping them to move on and press forward. Because when they go forward, they push forward, they pull us forward. We don't get it. These kids didn't drop out somewhere from the moon. Instead of us pushing on them, we need to be pushing on the poverty pimps in our community.
Mr. Austin,
the people who open up places that don't serve the best interests of our young people.
Yes.
That's who we need to push back on. And you know them. You know the places that stand and they ain't nothing but a little water in the hole for somebody to do gopher work for an incompetent politician.
Yes.
Okay.
So, Mr. Austin,
Jim Anderson said that too.
And St. Clair and others on Facebook as well said you guys are making sense. But I'll give it to you, Claire. Mr. Austin, have you ever thought about trying to run for a position in government as a young man? Yes.
Nah, I don't think I really want to jump into that realm. I feel like part of the things that I love about myself or part of the morals that guide my personal moral compass. Like, for example, if I were to be in office and I would have to vote on a bill or something that's against what I personally believe in my religion, well, then I'd become the same person we're talking about and
Wow.
just resign overnight. Like, I don't want to have to necessarily just leave. I don't think I want to serve my community in that way.
Wow.
I do think there are some young people who will be great for that position. Kind of talking on what you said, though, I actually would agree to an aspect of, I don't know if I see the excitement that I see about other candidates. Like, Obama really is still a big thing nowadays. Like, we still like talk about Obama
Picture on
in
the
young
wall,
communities.
right.
Like, it's still just like, it's just something that's brought up a lot more. What I see a lot more with the young generation is either they're like for Trump or anti-Trump. I don't really see too many like pro-Kamala. And then with kind of how Biden was appearing
Right.
on the debates similar nature, I definitely see some young people who were concerned. I think with young people, it's less about what we believe and more about, like you talked about, having those conversations, because I've seen young people come into political conversations and we're not really as defensive as you guys probably think about it, because a lot of young people just, they either know or they kind of like think they know, but we're not really that defensive. So I've had people come into little conversations saying, I'm voting for this person. Then an adult comes and says, why? And after 3 questions, now they're on the other side. So I think it comes down to a lot more of conversations and also understanding importance. I know we have a call. I'm going to say this last point and then jump to the caller.
Yes.
But young people will go to where it's important.
Yes.
I bet you, and I always go back to this Drake concert because it was just crazy to me. I bet there are people that Ubered to that Drake concert.
Not like
didn't
us.
have a car and still Ubered.
Yeah, not like us. Come on now.
It's still Ubered. I bet there were people.
And I think she used that slogan too. I believe before this happened. Yeah, look it up. I think
I'm not sure,
like
but I know where it's important. Young people will go to it, and I think what it comes down to, if you want to move young people, help us understand why, like you guys said, this election is history. Help us understand why this is so important to us. And it may be celebrity figures, but I genuinely feel like if you were to explain to the average young person how, like, no, this is bigger than you understand, they'll make it important, because I've seen young people do it. I'm gonna go to the call and then maybe we can talk to them more after.
Yes, not like us, not like us.
Good morning. I just want to talk about a little bit of accountability and what has that been.
Go ahead, caller.
Go ahead, caller.
So I'll go there. The vice president used that slogan way before this happened, not like us. And if you can Google it, you will see she was talking about not like us. And here we are today in this time period. I'm asking young men, and Shad is behind the glass here, but his brother actually was one of those type of people that was a young brother in our community, ran for common council, then became senator, right? And Shad, you can tune in with that microphone real quick. Let us know how would you feel, what was that? Because you was there with it. How did that come down to you a little bit?
It was powerful for me. I mean, when you got somebody that's your bloodline doing that type of work in the community on that type of level, who you know behind the scenes, who has sacrificed, who helped people with no regard. So my brother held the standard. I would see him. He didn't need the camera. He just wanted to do the work of the people. It was where he come from. It's where he was born. So he wanted to see it be great. So he would go over and beyond. A lot of times he took ridicule from inside his own team. He had organizations that he started with, didn't like, and he wanted to stand on against us and stand against the machine. So
yeah, he started Stop the Violence Coalition and other things, and Shard, and your mom was there and your family was there. So that's what we have to see what the vice president, I believe they showed her what the grandbaby's going into a store. So her vision is trying to change up a little bit. Just let her look more family oriented in this message that's got to go across the table.
And and some of that is just coming out now. That look, her role as vice president was played proper. She didn't try an upstaging, and she carried on. And so people didn't pay attention to everything she was doing, but she wasn't laid off. She wasn't on the beach. She was working. And I'm saying, look, this is the moment when you got to, I think of this moment. I hear James Brown saying, I don't want nobody to give me nothing. Just open up the door and I'll get it myself. This is our chance to get it ourselves, people. Yeah, listen, what you're looking at is someone who's qualified to represent. But I'll caution you this on this. She ain't squeaky all the way right in terms of the issues we want to be dealt with. There's nobody you're going to find that's going to be like that. As strong as she is on social policy,
Yes.
she needs to show where her voice stands on all of this militarization on the planet. Yeah, we spending so much money into militarization on the planet, making more war toys with money that should go to human need. She's going to have to address that.
Yes.
As she says she wants to earn and win our support. That's all I'm saying to you. For me, if you got someone that's better that can bring the numbers needed, hey, I might change. And as far as a vice president, look, even though those names that have been mentioned, remember I said earlier, the one that you ain't mentioning that's in line, that ain't got nothing to do with what you think, but who could rise. So let's stop looking at that and let's put support around her and do what Brother Austin said. Let's start talking to our young people and explaining stuff instead of talking at them and trying to get them to do something that, hey, they can't do what they don't know. And if you really want them to do it, you will talk to them to where what they know, they'll own it. They won't need you to say nothing else. Do that, and our community will flourish.
And an easy one I think about for myself, at least, if you're talking about especially these social issues, man, just ask a young person if they want to move out. Say, you want to move out, what that's going to look like. Say, well, I'll tell you, this upcoming election is going to be important for that. So if you want to move out, then you need to vote and get behind politicians that will support a market when you go to make that move, that you can have some power. If that's how you inspire young people, it's not saying vote blue all across. We don't understand what that means. It's not saying do all these other things. But I'll tell you, if you tell me that this vote equals how bad I want to move out, I promise you, like I said, if I don't got a car, I'll Uber. And if I can't Uber, I'll walk. But you got to help us understand why it's important. And then you'll see some change.
So we fall into, for me. So now it goes back to the point what the Republican Party getting a young man that's 38 years old to run on as vice president. I guess they thinking on that level of getting more younger folks in there. We were on the air earlier talking about the average age of Congress, or there was a 54, 55, 58. And so now you got a 38-year-old that's running as vice.
39.
Is he 39? Oh, he moved up. Well, last time they said he was 38, and now he's 39. But look, that's young. Not to even have, your boots on the ground and to know what's really going on. He was elected in Ohio, and I believe they're doing that because they need to win Ohio. So, and I get the plan of action of that there. Yes,
I wouldn't be surprised, but you know what I would tell this faith-loving community? The wise words were that wisdom does not come by age.
Right.
You can grow old and don't know nothing. And you know what? David wasn't old, but he was a wise shepherd boy. Son, you hear me? Hear the roots, hear the foundation on which you stand. That's all I'm saying.
1 minute, so we're going to leave with...
that 1 minute, y'all got it.
Go ahead, I don't know, I'm going to hit this flyer one more time, then I'm going to say my statements and pass it back again. Because when I get opportunities, I say it every time, I'm bringing it back to my people. Y'all are my people. So if you want to know what's going on in the community and how we're getting jobs out here, Thursdays, Food Truck Thursdays in the month of August, starting August 8th from 5 to 7. Come check us out at 683 Northland and make sure you get active because it's not just all on the national level too, it's locally too. And if you want to see a young people who are motivated to change, help us understand why we should be, and I promise you we'll take care of the rest. Thank you.
Woo-hoo. All right, and we just had the Peppy Martin annual Legacy Jazz Fest took place last, actually Sunday, and it was a great successful thing. I seen some things that I'm going to run over to Juneteenth and tell them about how we should be tackling the era with the youth over in that area, bringing stuff like that there will make it happen. The next event for that will be Sunday, July the 28th. Right there, Peppy Martin will be doing some things at Martin Luther King Park as well. The Gospel Fest is taking place as well. Things are happening in the city. Even an Italian festival is going to be taking place on the 26th, 27th, 28th. So let's get ready for that. Then we're going to leave it into the hands of Mr. Jim Anderson.
Oh, no. Hey, thank me for letting me be here. And I do wish Latasha would say goodbye because we don't let her say too much.
We're done.
Oh, we're done. Okay, we out of here.
Bye-bye.